Hello and welcome back to my channel, Bookish Lady Night, where we get a look behind the book. Today is a very special episode because I am joined by my dear friend and debut author, Kris Paulsen. She is the author of Galaxy Walkers, and this is a middle grade book, and it's ages 8 to 14, but I'm reading it right now and I'm really enjoying it, so definitely read it. It's worth the read. It's super, super cute. And it has special needs represented in it, which I love because I'm a special needs mama. So I love that. And thank you so much for joining me today.
I'm super excited. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And so I have the little goodies. I'm going to show them. Isn't that cool? I love that. Okay. Let me flip this over. And is it going to focus? Oh, of course it's going to be. Here we go. Cute. And then there's a bigger sticker that's got what is this called? Holographic?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I love this. So, how did you pick your location for this book?
Well, the idea came on a family walk. We were watching a rocket launch, but it was back in like 2016, and we actually didn't know what it was. So my opening scene is kind of what happened in real life. And I just kind of thought like, all right, this seems really eerie and, out of this world. So that's just where I got the space theme to go to different worlds.
Cool. That's really cool. Yeah. When I was reading it, I was like, oh, because I know that we've talked about that a few times. And I was like, I can totally see that because I can imagine like our area. I felt like I was walking, like I imagined that area. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. That's really well done. So when you were planning this out, did you do a outline or did you just kind of go with it and were a plantser?
I did not do a outline for this one. I kind of pantsed it, and I was more of I'm like a plantser because I research a ton, like hours and hours of research, probably more than that. But I was reading physics books for this one. So I'm a development, or I guess a discovery writer. Discovery writer would be what it is. So I did kind of discover it as it goes, like the story.
So besides the initial inspiration that you had, is there anything else that like kind of inspired you in this book to write this book?
My kids. So I'm also a special needs mom, and I wanted to write something for my kids. And I kind of put a little bit of them, I think, throughout the whole book. Yeah, I just really wanted to write for my family.
Yeah, I can see that, like just different characteristics or manner because I know them. I know your kids. And so I was like, and I saw my kids in there. So I could totally like you encompassed that group of kiddos great because you could see a little bit of all the different types with the dyslexia and then like POTS and then autism and like all of the different things. And I love Nebula. She's my favorite.
Thanks. She's my favorite as well. I loved writing her.
Yeah. I loved the way that you had her hair. Like there was a part in the scene and I don't want to give it away, but I loved that with her hair and how that whole system works. And it was so scientific and it was like, I could totally like imagine this alien planet with these beings that were like that. And I loved that.
That was a lot of fun. I couldn't even tell you where I got that idea. Just books and books of research on other worlds, outer space, physics, quantum theories.
Yeah. And then just like the cell cycles. Like I feel like that one for sure with how, yeah, you have to read it. I don't want to give it away, but I don't know if you want me to give it away, but I'm just like, it's such a cool idea. So I like that. I thought that was really creative.
Thanks. Yeah, we'll keep that one a secret.
Yeah. So read it because you'll see that little secret and you'll probably enjoy it as much as I did. So how have you celebrated your milestones, this being your debut author introduction to us?
I bought a cake when I published it and celebrated with my family. My girls really enjoyed the cake aspect of it. Just little celebrations for myself, throughout the time. It doesn't feel real still.
Yeah. Have your kids read it?
They all have. They were the first ones to read it. I actually didn't plan on publishing ever. I wrote this for my family. I wrote this for myself. We spent a lot of time in hospitals, waiting rooms, doctor appointments. So that's when I wrote this. At those times, there was a time where my son was in the hospital for a full week. So I got a lot of writing in, and they read it years ago. And then I decided, why not? Why not publish it? And I started going down that route.
Awesome. So what is the biggest thing you've learned with being a self-published author?
I've made quite a few mistakes. I mean, the whole process, I would say writing the first draft is very fun for me. The editing process is really difficult for me. So to get through that from editing to actually publish, there's a lot to learn. There's more than I ever thought there would be, from ISBN numbers to how to format the book. It's a long process.
Would you do anything different?
I would. I would, yeah. And so for my next book that I'm writing, I've already started doing things differently, make it a little bit more smooth and easier on myself.
Yeah, that's good. This is a fun question. What is your favorite beverage and snack to have while you're writing?
I mostly drink water, so I'm not really, exciting there, but I like Hershey Kisses. That's
Yes,
my
me
snack.
too. Those are good. Those are really good. And then you like can't have one, then you have like 10, and then you're like, oh, I ate a lot more than I planned on because they're just so small. So with writing a book that has a group of individuals that are special needs, did you struggle with that at all? Like trying to either be, really sensitive to certain topics or just trying to be the most authentic with it? Was that a difficult process for you?
I don't think it was difficult because it's a life that we live. I wanted to make it more generalized for not just to fit my family, but all families to kind of pick up on those little things. Lyra is dyslexic, and I did come out and say that, and that's something that she struggles with. But the other ones, I didn't want to just come out and say it. I want to see like who can pick up on that and, can recognize that in the book when they read it.
Yeah, it's definitely. I really enjoy the characters, Archie and Lyra. They are super cute. And Hercules. Is he inspired by one of your fur babies?
He is. He's inspired by our dog Ryder.
Yeah, I love him. He was so cute. I was like, oh, the dog. So do you feel like writing energizes you or does it make you tired?
Drafting energizes me. Editing is exhausting.
Yeah. Do you do a lot of edits? Like, did you do a lot of edits in this book or was it just one big edit?
So this one I wrote 7, 8 years ago, and I still didn't learn the process of writing. I'm a late writer. I didn't always want to be a writer as a kid. This wasn't a dream from when I was younger. I didn't write a lot of journals, so I had a lot to learn. So I wrote this book. I did my first draft, and then I just left it for a while, and then I joined a bunch of communities, writing groups. I went to a bunch of conferences, a lot of online conferences, and I really learned the craft through reading craft books for writing. So I feel like I grew with this book. So a lot of the edits I probably won't need for my future books, but this one I did need because I needed to grow as a writer. And I still think like every day I can still grow as a writer.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think always doing extra education is a big must. I mean, you and I both know because we homeschool, so we're all about the education for sure. So, do you have a moment in this process where you felt really proud that you can recall?
When I got to the end.
You got to the end?
Yep. I never know what's going to happen at the end. So that makes me a little nervous. Like my beginnings and my endings are always tough for me to write. So I was proud that I had finished it, like a sense of completion.
Yeah, that's really, really great. So, have you had writer's block?
With my first draft, no, it just flows out. With editing, yes. And I think, with writer's block, imposter's syndrome comes in. And I had time to think. Because when I did my first draft, I learned don't edit, don't look back, don't go over what you've already written, just keep going forward. And that worked for me. But editing, it was questioning everything.
Yeah.
Too much.
So, you were going back and going, should I do this? Should I do that? Like through the whole process?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be cumbersome and tough. I feel like I would not handle it well. So if you could go back in time, since you've written this, it's been a couple years, even though you just published it since you wrote it, if you could go back in time, is there something you would tell your younger writing self, knowing what you know now?
Get a good team. I am very fortunate to have a really good team, and you and I meet and we write together, and I'm very thankful for that. I'm very grateful for that. I have a good community now, a good writing community that I've learned from, and editors, beta readers, proofreaders. Like having a good team behind you, because it's not all on you.
Not many people, we post about it, but we don't talk about it. So she is now a debut, and I am working on my first book, and she's working on her second book, which I got a little sneak peek about, and I loved it. And I was like, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you writing it? So I'm glad she's finally writing it and going to publish it. It's a romance, and it's phenomenal, and I'm so excited to read it. So we meet once a week, and we support each other and talk through our books and what we're stuck on and our sounding boards for each other. And it's just my favorite time of the week. So
great support and a lot of fun.
Yes. And a little crazy from time to time too.
Of course.
So I always like to ask anyone that has like a fantasy book or, any of that sci-fi, any of that with other creatures, since your book has that, if you could be any mythical creature, what would it be and why?
Yeah, it's an easy one. A dragon. Just my 8-foot dragon I crocheted in the background. I would be a dragon 100%.
Yeah.
And why? Just I could fly. I could breathe fire. I could, enjoy everything that I hoard, like my books.
Yes, exactly. Book dragons, hoarders. Yes, we totally are that.
Exactly.
We will be having some exciting news to announce probably after the holiday time, that we will be doing something together, and it will be coming out in the new year. So we will be announcing that soon. So be sure to stay tuned. It's going to be very exciting. So what is the most difficult thing about writing for you?
The most difficult thing would just be the process of getting word to paper and then out to the shelf. I think it's a long process. Yeah.
So on the flip side, what's your most favorite thing about writing?
First draft.
Experiencing
the story for the first time. And I feel like my characters write the story for themselves. And I'm just along for the ride. I'm just having fun. Where are we going? What are we doing today?
Are they really loud in your head?
They are. I really am character driven, and I do a lot of character profiling, and to the point where they feel real to me, like almost like 4D, where I could sit there and talk to them. I come up with things that I don't even put in the book, like their pet peeve or their favorite food or just anything, so I can make them feel as real as possible. And then I'm just along for the ride.
Yeah. So not a character interview, character profile.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I do both. I do interviews and profiles, and I like to get character sketches so I can see them. I'm, a really visual person, so that's fun for me. As real as I can make them is best.
Yeah. Yep. That's great. So what was the hardest part with writing a certain scene? Was there a certain type of scene that you really struggled with?
The ending, actually. I probably redid the ending about 4 or 5 times. I don't know why, but I just couldn't figure out how to wrap it up in my mind. I didn't want it to end, maybe. It was a really fun book to write. So yeah, that was a struggle for me.
Make this a series?
It is set up to be either a standalone or series, and I do have ideas for a future one. I am currently working on another book right now, so we'll see.
What was your most favorite scene to write?
Without giving too much away, I would say it had to do with Lyra learning about herself, a certain ability, where she kind of went up in the sky and didn't know how to get back down. I don't want to give away too much there, but that was really, really fun.
In the book, and I don't feel like this is giving away, but they're learning new abilities that they didn't know they had, and it was like they're training for them, and they were pushing their own self-perceived limitations that they put on themselves, and everybody around them was like, no, you're fine, just do it. And they were like kind of having that internal battle with their mind about what they're capable of, which I think that's so true for most kids. Like, they doubt themselves. Like, we've seen it in both of our kids. Like, they think they can't do something, so they just shut down. And then they try it, and you're like, see, look. And so I really liked that.
Thank you. Yeah, they need that encouragement, and I try to make it so that Lyra and Archie, approach things differently. They're different people. I want them to be as individual as possible, and I wanted to make sure that they had, different ways of going about it.
Yeah, that's really great. Let me scroll down because we kind of already talked about this with you saying that you weren't normally into writing. So what you just that one day when you went on that walk, you were just like, I want to write this? Or were there other factors that kind of played in?
I think there were other factors too. We're avid readers here. We all love to read. And being a medical family, you have a lot of stress and negative stuff in your life. And I wanted a positive reflection on my children and not just be the ones that, to take them to the doctors, not just be the one that has to say the bad news. I wanted something that they're able to enjoy and that I can enjoy as well. And we could, share that. So that, going on the walk and seeing that definitely sparked the idea and it wouldn't leave my mind. And then also wanting to give something or leave something for my children or anything like that, you know, created this entire story.
Yeah, that's really great. So who do you feel out of your characters is the most like you and why?
I hope Nebula. I mean, she's super sweet, so I'm not 100% sure, but I really like her. I think that there's a little bit of me and some of the other characters too.
Yeah, yeah, I love Nebula. She's my favorite. So I know this is, middle grade, and there are some tropes in here like good versus evil and hidden powers and an adventure. But now that you're going to be broadening your horizons with newer books, what is your favorite trope that you think you're going to be starting to write about?
That's a good question. I love tropes like forced proximity, enemies to lovers, forbidden love, stuff like that. My next one that I'm writing is more of a contemporary fiction, so it doesn't have a lot of that in there. But yeah, I don't know. I like, friendship tropes, a chosen one, a sense of belonging. So I think my next one's more of like a sense of belonging.
So with writing, did you see your plot twist or your ending moments, cliffhangers, things like that? Did you have them in your mind or did the characters kind of lead you there?
For one, which is a pretty huge plot twist, which I can't say in Galaxy Walkers, that I had from the beginning. But it's funny when you write, you come up with these things on the fly that you're like, ooh, good job. We'll pat on the back for that one. So there are some little ones too. Yeah. And then in editing, you go back and you're like, it'd be really cool if I put this in there.
Did you feel like with your characters, since you're kind of more of a pantser or discovery writer, that you like had an idea of like starting a scene or starting a chapter? You're like, I want it to be like this. And then they're like, no, we're not doing that. We're going over here.
Yep. There's a few of them. There was definitely a few, and it works. It works better.
Yeah. So you just went with it. You didn't try to like, no, come back over here, come back over here. Just
Nope,
went
I
with
just
it.
went with it. Just
Yeah.
go along with the flow.
That's awesome. So, being a busy mom, how do you find time to write? And then do you have like a certain goal that you aim for each day?
I used to write at night. I think I mostly wrote this one at night, but my hours have changed now. I write in the morning. I get up earlier before everyone else. I have a couple hours to myself, and I force myself to keep a schedule because if I don't write like every day, just a little bit, or have some type of involvement in writing, watching a writing conference or something in the community, then I can easily just kind of forget about it for a little bit. Not like forget about it like it's not important, but it's so much harder to get back into it later if you've let it sit for a while. So I try every single morning to sit and do something writing related.
So, when you are actively writing, is there like a certain goal you have for like word count or a chapter or a scene? Is there anything that you like aim towards to keep your trajectory going?
Getting a certain goal count in when I'm drafting, yes, I try to do 1,500 to 2,000 words a day. When I'm editing, I like to try to at least get an hour in a day.
So, what is the most surprising thing you've learned on your writing journey?
That it takes a lot to get on a bookshelf. The surprising part is the community, like how much people really do root for you and how much you root for others. I'm being a homeschool mom and a medical mom, like we don't have a large community here. Like we have a large community in homeschooling and in medical stuff, but not actually in writing for what we love to do. So knowing that there is a large community out there was kind of surprising and it's nice.
So, with doing like the covers, did you enjoy that process of like designing the cover and coming up with the idea and then getting it made in 3D?
Working with an artist was seriously, it was so nice and easy, but seeing your characters for the first time was amazing. It was probably the best part, of this to actually see them on the cover. I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really great. I remember when you first sent it over to that. So it was very fun to see that. So what do you feel makes a great story, in your opinion?
Characters that are relatable, a story that is entertaining, and a takeaway, something that you can take away from it and feel like that was awesome.
So do you feel like a lot of this book, because I know we talked about this kind of because you were in it, do you feel like a lot of your own life and your kids kind of are in this book? Or do you feel it's more of like a generalized, or did you use a lot of their like personalities and things that they have and write it into the story?
I think I put them in it more than I initially wanted to or expected to. I think it just naturally comes out that way. Yeah, they're definitely in it.
Yeah. So what is your favorite part about being a writer?
Being able to do what I enjoy and still being able to homeschool and do everything I need to for my family. And writing has become therapeutic. So even though I didn't start out wanting to be a writer, I don't see it ending anytime soon. It's become my therapy, it's become my outlet, and it's enjoyable.
Yeah. Do you feel like, do you ever struggle? Well, this book you didn't have it quite as much, but maybe with your plans for future books with topics that are a little bit heavier, do you feel like you've struggled with that, like getting it out of your mind and onto the page?
Yeah, I think you like as a writer, I want to make sure that I'm sensitive to certain topics for my readers and that I can represent them well.
Really, really good. Okay. So I know we're talking about a middle grade, but you are also in the process of writing a romance. So I wanted to ask you, what is your favorite books that you've read in like the romance genre?
Hmm. I like a lot of fantasy. So fantasy romance, Throne of Glass, the Court of Thrones series. I mean, they're really good. I like the Red Queen. Cinder was probably my first inspiration, even though that is YA, to get into fantasy. I used to read a lot of fiction before, so that was my intro into fantasy. So Cinder really holds a place in my heart. Just I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah. I actually haven't read that one yet. It's on my TBR because you told me about it and I need to read it. So, given that this is your, you did this first book, what is the biggest thing that you feel like you're going to change going forward with like publishing a book?
I don't want to say everything, but pretty much everything. I learned a lot with this process.
Yeah.
I will be able to find the appropriate type of editors. So this one is, middle grade sci-fi fantasy. So I won't be able to use the same type of developmental editor. So I will be able to interview. Like in the beginning, I'm like, oh, you'll edit my book. Oh my gosh, that's great. Let's do this. I think I've learned to take a little bit more time in researching that and, making sure it's the right fit for my book. And yeah.
So, now that you have the book out, do you feel like you are looking at reviews or are you just kind of avoiding them? Has that been something that you've enjoyed, that process of having people review your book?
Yeah, I do look at reviews. I love criticism. I don't know why. It doesn't scare me. I think it's great. I want to grow as a writer. I want to learn like, oh, this didn't work for, someone. That's great because, books aren't for everyone. So, I want to see what people are saying. I don't have a lot of reviews. So far, I've gotten really good ones and I'm really excited about that. And my book just got a reader's favorite 5-star review, which is huge. I get to put a little sticker on my book now. That was really, really exciting. At some point, I probably won't read all the reviews. Yeah, I think at some point I'll just turn that part off. But for right now, it's been fun.
That's great. So with writing this book and putting it out there, do you feel like you want to go back to that world or you want to broaden the horizons and go into different areas? And will you do other types of novels besides just the romance one? Are there other areas of like book ideas that you'd want to, broach that creativity and try it out?
I have 3 books right now on my mind, and Some of them are already in drafts. I have the first drafts for them, so I'd like to get those out. I would like to come back to this world at some point. I hope I can get to publishing 1 to 2 books a year. But yeah, I think at some point I would really like to come back to this world because I don't think their story is done.
What was your favorite book as a child? Do you have any books that you like really loved when you were younger?
I liked Narnia.
Narnia.
Yeah, I really like Narnia a lot. I wasn't a huge reader as a child. I'm actually dyslexic myself. So my
Cute.
mom would bribe me to read a lot. She would buy me a Briar horse if I read 10 books. So I chose some easier books to read. But yeah, that one sticks out the most. I probably read that one over and over and over again.
So do you feel like now you're like, for me, because I'm also dyslexic, I love books that are read to me, and that still counts as reading. I don't care what anyone says, it is still reading. But do you like to listen to more audiobooks?
I recently got into audiobooks. I didn't think it would be for me because I have to tune out. I've got, quite a few kids at home. So I'm used to tuning things out, but the audiobooks have been really awesome. I didn't know that they could be that awesome. I could be, cleaning the house but slaying dragons at the same time. um, yeah, or doing the dishes and up on a mountain somewhere. So I've really enjoyed audiobooks, and statistics show that it's the same as reading. You get the same vocabulary and everything. So I am all for it.
Yes. So since you are having a new book coming out that is to do with romance, do you know your love language, and do you kind of incorporate that, or are you going to incorporate that into this new book?
Yes, I definitely am. And mine is physical touch. I like to be, as close and snuggle, and that will be in the book as well. Yeah. So
Yeah. Do you feel like it helps make your characters more three-dimensional when you're using things like that and incorporating those other senses in a book?
I do. Since I'm character driven, I feel like, the more real I can make them, but I can also relate to them. I feel like I can write them better.
Yeah, I would agree. So what is something unique and quirky? I probably know about it, but so that people that don't know you, that they could know about you.
Unique and quirky.
Unique or quirky.
Yeah, I'm kind of quirky, I think, to begin with. I fidget a lot. I love to crochet. I can't sit still. I cannot sit still. I have to be doing something. I can't sit through a movie unless it's at the theater. And even then, I'm fidgeting with something.
Yes. So let's say that again. She crochets. So that gorgeous dragon was a Halloween costume for one of her kiddos. And how long is it?
It's 8 feet long.
Oh my God. And you started that in the summer, right?
I can't even get the whole thing with the wings on it and everything.
You started that in the summer, right?
I started it in June.
June, yeah. So yeah, that was a labor of love for sure. And you make such cute things. I love all the little things that you've showed me that you've crocheted.
Thank you.
I definitely like it. I'm jealous. I want to crochet, but my fingers don't work.
We'll work on that.
So now that it's the holidays, I like to ask, what are some traditions that you have that you're going to be doing with your family this season?
We already have our tree up. I put my tree up on November 1st because I love to write during November and December, and I love to write by the sparkling trees. So we put it up super early, and then I'm not allowed to take it down until late January, so it's up for quite a while. We do a lot of baking. We bake a lot of cookies. This is pumpkin bread season. It gets requested over and over and over again. I think one year I made it 17 times. We do a lot of baking and time together, and cookie decorating. So every year we have a little family cookie decorating contest.
I just read in a book, it was a holiday book. They did the ugly sweater contest. So they had cookies. They made cookies that look like sweaters, and then they decorated them. And then they used Facebook, like in the book, they posted it and to the mom's friends, and like everybody on her friend group, like picked the ugliest cookie. And I was like, that's so cute. I want to try that. That'd be fun.
That sounds super fun.
That might be something we should do with the girls. I think that would be a lot of fun. So have you had that moment when you're writing that you're like, I know you said you feel like it's unreal, but is there a little bit of that moment of like, I made it, I did it, I made it, it's there? Have you had that yet?
I think at one point I did when I walked into Barnes and Noble and saw my book on the shelf.
So cool. I think I wrote you, right? I was there. Took my daughter there and I was walking around and then she goes, Mom, it's Kris's book. And I'm like, oh my golly. And so I took a little video and I was like, your book is on Barnes and Noble. So that was so cool. I was so proud of you in that moment. I was like, oh my God, this is so cool.
I love that reaction because we didn't get to talk yet, so I didn't get to tell you about it yet.
Yeah.
She saw it before I even got to tell her.
I was like, this is so great. I was like, it's your book. So you can see that video on my Instagram. It was really great. So that was a big, proud moment for me as her friend. So what did you do at the end of this book to kind of unwind after that long, stressful process? Did you do anything special besides the cake?
Probably just, stared at it on my own shelf for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I kind of moved on to the next one just to keep my mind busy because I was really nervous when I published it. I was having like these, dreams at night, like, did I spell something wrong? Or, did I upload the wrong manuscript? So yeah, there was a little bit of stress at the end there. So I try to stay away from that stress and think of other things and do other things.
Yeah. I feel like also like a moment, like, cause I know like your mom, she is not an avid reader, but you told me a couple weeks ago, she's reading your book. So how is that?
She actually got a reading chair and a little side table and a reading lamp so she could read my book. She is fantastic.
Love that. I loved that. So did she talk to you about it yet? Has she said anything as she's read it?
Not yet. She just tells me which page she's on and that she's getting through it. And she's going to give me her full thoughts at the end. She did tell me that she sees a little bit of me in the book. So that's the only thing she said so far. I was like, okay, I hope that's good.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. I feel like when you write something, you kind of put a little piece of your soul in the book. And really in anything you do. But I feel like, especially with writing, that it's like, you carve it out and you like stick it in the pages because it's like so much of you that comes out in that book, like blood, sweat, and tears kind of to get on the page.
Yeah.
For sure. So what have your kids said with them being reading it? Is there anything that they've said that they were like, wow, Mom, this is, really cool, or I really liked this, or was there anything that they have given you as far as after they finished it?
Yeah, so my two older kids read it before it was edited. So they read a version of it that was the first one, and they really enjoyed it. My husband actually stayed up all night reading it. He's an avid reader as well. He doesn't always read fantasy, though. He's more of a Western, kind of reader. So I thought that was really exciting. My kids are my biggest fans. And my youngest one is 7 years younger than the other two. So when she read it, she was like, wow, Mom, this is good enough to be in Barnes and Noble. And I just love that. My middle kiddo, she's my biggest fan. She, likes everything that I post. She is constantly telling her friends to go get the book. The support, it just blows me away. I'm very grateful for my family and the support and the way that they've shown me love over the book.
So you did say that you do a lot of educational type things. So what are some like things that you've learned now diving into that side of writing that you didn't know before?
The beats, how to make a good story work. Save the Cat. That book was really big for me. Excuse me. To have, a good middle. There's this, muddy middle part, and I didn't want to fall into that. So recognizing that that's common, but making sure that I don't have my readers fall asleep in the middle. There's so much to writing. There's so much that I've learned. There's so much that I learned in just Galaxy Walkers in general about sciences too.
Yeah, that's for sure. I definitely read a lot of fantasy. I do read some sci-fi. It's not my main one that I pick, but I definitely am enjoying this one. Like, it's very endearing and it's lots of adventure and lots of discovery, which I like. I like the books that like make you think, for sure. I feel like those are the best books to read. So, what's your favorite season to write in? Is it, like you kind of said, this time of year?
It'd be the fall and the winter. Absolutely. Yeah. And if we can get a rainy day, that would be my ultimate weather to write in.
Do you think you'll do, as you go on maybe next year, a book that's like a novella that's during this time of year and like encompass all the things you love about this time of year?
I don't have any plans for one, but I mean, you never know. You never know. If the yeah, the story has a spark in my mind and it just doesn't leave me alone, I have to get it down. So I don't really get to choose which one to write. Like when we were talking about the one that I'm working on now, I had a whole different idea in my head and I told you about a couple of them and you're like, no, do this one. I was like, you know what, you're right. Then it just stuck. I was thinking of it over and over again. I was like, yeah, I need to do this one.
Yeah. You need to get it out there. And then, so you have some other ones in the works. When do you think you'll start to work on those and get those out in the world?
So I plan on finishing this draft for the one that I'm working on now by the new year. And then I would like to get it out to a developmental editor. I would like to have this one published. So while it's sitting with a developmental editor, then I'll start working on the next one.
And it's not a series. It's a different book that you'll be writing after that.
It'll be a standalone, yeah.
Awesome. That's really, really great. So let's see, because I don't want to give any spoilers. When you were thinking of the powers, I don't want to talk about it without giving it away, but I can say that at least that's not giving anything away yet. Maybe it won't. You tell me if it's too much to talk about. What were the things that you really wanted to have show up and come out within that when you were coming up with these like superpowers in the story?
For the superpowers, I did a lot of research on different types of powers. I wrote in a notebook probably 3 to 4 pages of different powers until something made sense to me that I can have a power work. How to not give this away? That's a hard one. How to make it work for my book and what I wanted to use, and then which character would best suit that power. So, galaxy walkers, they do all have, specific powers, but then there's individual, unique powers to each walker.
Yeah.
So I try to pick the ones that would really work for each character's personality.
So would you say the magical system or the abilities system is like, I know we've talked about this, about like a loose magical system or a hard magical system. How would you say yours is?
There are some hard rules to it. So I would say it's a hard magic system because they have limitations too. You can't just like have something work for you because you want it to. It's either there or it's not, and then you're limited to what you can do with it.
Yeah. And then also I feel like there's a lot of emotional discovery in the story, like with managing emotions, and that as a special needs mom I live with on a daily basis. And so with that, did you feel like almost like a validation for you and your kiddos in writing that out and like having it come across the page of showing how those kiddos work with their emotions and work with, the sensory things and the different things that they come in contact with that they maybe don't understand?
Yeah, I learned a lot in that process too, because I had to do a lot of research on that as well. And even if you live it day to day, there's still more to learn and more to recognize. So that's a sensitive, topic to make sure that you can get it right. And was a little stressed just to make sure that it came off authentic.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like you did for sure. And I definitely liked the little things, the little Easter egg nuggets that you put in, because I feel like my daughter to read this, and I feel like she's going to see a lot of herself in that. I like books like that. I like books where, because I know we've talked about this, but not everybody has a child with special needs out in the world, so they maybe don't understand. But kids in general, they can be bullied and be left out. But it's like a whole other little bit of a different layer of that, having a child with special needs. And so having them read something or see something that has representative aspects of their daily truth and what they go through is really important. So do you feel like in your future projects, given who you are and the life that you walk, do you think that you'll keep introducing that into all of the aspects of your writing with other stories so that it has that more inclusivity to it?
Yeah, I do. I think I'll have it in a little bit in every single book because that's, who I am, who we are. Sorry. Yeah, it's life for us. So they say to write what you know and write
Mhm.
what you're comfortable with. And I feel that type of inclusion benefits everyone in the world. Like, am I young readers that, you know, don't know anyone, or maybe they don't have a friend that has, any special needs or disabilities, like they'll be able to relate with the characters as well, because children struggle in life, in all different aspects. And that's what my characters go through, some struggles that are relatable and identifiable. So I think, everyone can get a little bit from it.
I know that we talked about you are potentially going to be in the library system with your book. And I know with the school our kids go to, it will probably be in there. But do you have any new knowledge on that, of when that will be happening?
I have my book in two different school libraries and two different counties right now. And I'm waiting to hear back from a librarian that will be able to open it up to 14 different counties. And getting the 5-star, the reader's favorite,
Uh-huh.
I actually am put into a newsletter that gets blasted out to over 115,000 libraries nationwide.
Wonderful.
So yeah, so I'm really, really excited about that. You know, just get the word out there so more people can enjoy Galaxy Workers.
I'm excited for you. I can't wait for that to happen. You have to tell me when that happens. We're going to have a party.
It will be December 1st. So I'll be out in the newsletter in December 1st for it. So I'm excited.
Okay, I'm going to go sign up for their newsletter so I get it, because I want a copy. So my last question for you is, what message do you want readers to take away from reading your book?
I want readers to take away a sense of self-discovery, to feel that even though they might feel the world is against them a little bit, with a little bit of confidence, they can do things they never thought they could.
I love that. Oh, I actually do have one more question. Sorry. Just kidding. I have another question. So, your bad guy. Did you enjoy that process? Did you struggle with that?
I loved writing my villain. I love the fact that my villain, I don't think this is giving away too much, but is female. You don't see that a lot in stories. So, yeah, I had a lot of fun with her.
Yeah. Yes, I like her. So I like her as a villain. I don't necessarily like her, but I like her as a villain. She's a very good villain. So I had asked that.
I wanted to have her reasons for it. One of my exercises with writing her was to write from her point of view. And I did not put this in the book, but I do a lot of extra work on the side. And like, why? Is it believable that, somebody would become this way? Can we somehow sympathize with them, even though we may not like them?
Yeah. I love that when books do that, because like you can totally be like, oh, I could totally see myself going down the dark side of that and like being that person, but then like, no, I'm not going to do you there. I'm not on that side, but I love when books do that because they make you think. So awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on today and chatting with me about your book. I'm very proud of you, and I wish you all the success and all the great things, because you deserve it. And I will link below the link for her book and where you can find her on Instagram. Definitely follow her. If you have a book bestie that would be looking for book recommendations for their littles or themselves, like I said, I'm reading it and I'm an adult and it's great. So I don't think it's a book that you have to keep within a certain age group, but it definitely would be a great book for a child to read that's like middle grade, and just, them seeing a different perspective on people that are a little bit different and learning new things about other people. I think that's always important. So definitely check it out and be sure to like and subscribe. And I will see you next time as we get another look behind the book. Again, thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you.
Of course. Bye.
Bye.